All right, everybody, it's Monday. Mindset Monday. It's great to be with you today. I'm Dr. Trevor. So I want to start with just a question. How many of you, and I imagine the answer to this, I think I already know is going to be lots of us, if not everyone. How many of you ever started a goal and then fell short? Like you've set your mind to something like, hey, I'm going to do this, and you've given it a reason why, and then you find yourself just like running out of steam, losing motivation, and before you know it, you're like just you've given up, you've decided to move on, you've bailed on whatever it is that you were working on. Okay, so again, I think lots of us, myself included, have done this many times. So today we're going to talk about focusing and following through on our goals, but we're going to specifically look at it from understanding the mindset of focus and follow through. I think we have to start from this place of this like just foundational awareness that focus isn't about attention, it's about intention. Okay, some of you are like saying, hey, that like doesn't make sense at all, particularly for some of us who may be like ADD or ADHD, because man, it's hard to know. Focus seems to be all about attention, like I can't seem to focus in the moment, but that's not what I'm talking about. I focus, this longer term focus, this ability to stay with something or stay at something over time, right? It's not just about attention, it's about intention. So what I mean by that is follow through isn't just about willpower. It's not just about grinding it out. It's about clarity, commitment, courage. So here's how this plays in this idea of mindset. Goals succeed when they're connected to something deeper. Got it? Goals succeed when they're connected to something deeper. So something deeper, like there's meaning, there's purpose, or there's a felt sense of calling in the work that we're doing to set that goal, to follow through on that goal, and to complete whatever that goal is. Let me give you an example from my own life, and this might be your story just like it's my story. So maybe you set a goal, and maybe it's a New Year's resolution, like, hey, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to work out more, or maybe they're going to go hand in hand. I know in my own life, when I've done those New Year's resolutions, or I've made those goals, and I've connected that to some why because I want to lose weight, or why because I want to become ripped, or anything in that direction. I mean, like, that matters, but it's not really meaningful. It's not really tied to something more other than, well, I just want to look better when I look in the mirror, or I just want to fit into that pair of pants again. Again, those things do matter. But what we tend to find is we fall off easier than when we connect it to something deeper, something more meaningful in our lives. So I'll give you an example of this. In fact, specifically in this area, losing weight and exercising more. So I remember, gosh, this was years ago. I mean, what I mean by years, this was like 25 years ago, a long time ago. I had like just straight through gone through college, gone through multiple master's degrees, like back to back. And I remember in that period of my life, like, man, I sat a lot. I sat in class, and I sat in lectures, and I sat reading my textbooks, and I sat writing papers, and I sat staring at screens. And like, you can only imagine, some of you have done the same thing that I have. Like, you just sat for so much time that, not a shock, not a surprise. Pairing that with, then I'm at a university, there's a cafeteria, I was on a meal plan, it was buffet style, right? You add all that up, plus it was late night studying, and I'm going to order a pizza, and probably eat the whole thing, right? Like, that was my life for those years. So again, not surprising that I put on a little bit of weight and that I was just out of shape. So let me give you context. Prior to this, I was a pretty competitive athlete. I was a soccer player, was Division II in college, captain of the team at the university that I attended, and so I was in pretty decent shape. Okay, so then fast forward, I do all of this academia and all of this like sitting in the midst of my studies. So I remember getting out of school, being a little bit out of weight, overweight, a little bit out of shape. Um, I was living in the Midwest. My wife and I moved to California, and I remember having this idea of like, hey, we're in California now, right? Like, I mean, I gotta look good, like good when I go to the beach and in the pool, and like, So I remember that first iteration of this goal setting. Like, it just didn't stick. Like, I decided I was going to get a gym membership, and I only went sometimes. I think only when my friends were going. I decided I was going to start running, but I just didn't really find the time to do it. And so I struggled with that for I think it was for a couple of years. Maybe little gains, like I got a little bit more in shape. I lost a little bit of weight. But then I remember my wife and I, we decided we were going to start trying to get pregnant. We want to start a family together. And I remember just having this thought that connected somewhere deeper inside of me. Like, I want to be a healthy husband. I want to be a healthy father. I want to be the one who has the energy to run around with his kids, be up for anything that comes our way. Right? That's the kind of dad I want to be. And I remember something shifting in me. And it was not too long after that, there was a friend of mine who said, hey, he was going to run a 10K. And I was like, okay, 6.2 miles, I can do that. So I run the 6.2 miles, and I am like dying, right? Like, it was a really hard experience for me. And I remember that being like a wake-up call for me, right? Like, if I'm going to be that father and that person who is full of energy and healthy and able to do these things, man, I got some work to do. So fast forward, I remember having another friend who's decided they were going to run a half marathon, and I was like, I'm in. Like, let's do this, 13.1 miles. So I started training. And when I started training for that half marathon, everything changed. What changed? I mean, at the core of it, it was what's behind it. It was the why. I'm not doing this because I want to lose weight. I'm not doing this because I want to be ripped, or I want to be buff, or I want to look good when I go to the beach. All right? I mean, those things were good, but they weren't the deeper part of why. So I trained for that half marathon, and man, it was a great experience. I remember running that race, getting to the finish line, saying, this is good. All right? And that just started for me like a whole journey of health. Like, I remember for years and years and years, and still today, right? These patterns of health that came out of changing my why. All right, so I asked you earlier, any of you ever, right, done that? You've set a goal, struggled to maybe follow through. Then maybe after I shared my story, maybe remind me over to your stories of you set a goal and it actually stuck. Like, there's something about it, something deeper, something more meaningful, something purposeful that connected with you, and you were able to follow through. All right, so I want to give us a couple mindset shifts that I think are significant to help us get from the place we started and talked about to the place of my story that I got to. So the first is this, the clarity of intention. So the first thing we got to do is we got to make our goal clear. Like, we got to be able to figure out what is that goal if we're ever going to be able to focus. So if your goal isn't clear, your focus isn't clear. So ask yourself this question. What do I really want? And why does it really matter? I think we got to connect those two. Rather than just saying, what do I really want? We have to pair it with that second question, and why does it really matter? So there's mindset shift number one. Clarify the intention. Mindset shift number two, commitment over comfort. Man, this is a big one. This one's hard because I think we're wired for comfort, but this idea of commitment over comfort. When your mindset is committed, your feelings don't dictate your actions. Man, that's tough. I mean, I think it's true, but it's tough, right? When your mindset is commitment, I am committed to these things. Here's what this is saying. We're less concerned about how we feel in that moment because we're focused to follow through. So ask yourself this question: am I willing to keep going even if it's uncomfortable? Am I willing to keep going even if it's uncomfortable? And then this third mindset shift is courage to take consistent actions. Man, this one can be challenging too. Courage to take consistent action. So let's go back to that idea of maybe you had a New Year's resolution, right? You're going to choose to lose weight. You're going to get a gym membership. You're going to start getting exercise and working out more. So it's more than just setting the goal. It's more than just having attention, right? We've talked about intention. We've talked about this idea of commitment. But it's also this part to be able to be consistent. And it's this idea of little steps make big progress. If we're really going to commit to some kind of goal, some kind of change in our lives, we have to make a commitment. And the idea of commitment to little by little. So success is less about speed and more about staying consistent. I love that. Speed. So success is less about speed and more about staying consistent. So you ask yourself this question: what's one small action I can take today? Right? That's how we get things done. Little by little, over time. Does that make sense? Yeah, if I go back to my idea of running, right, I didn't run that half marathon or the many full marathons that came after that story that I shared with you by just waking up one morning, strapping on my shoes, and just deciding I'm going to go run a marathon today. No, it was discipline, it was dedication, right? It was the idea of intention, commitment, right? Little by little over time. Okay, so I think it's also important in the midst of this to talk about the idea of mindset over motivation. Mindset is something that sticks. Mindset is something we can commit to, and it's something that's steady. Motivation comes and goes. Motivation ebbs and flows. I remember working with this client. He set a goal. His specific goal is he wanted to lose weight. He wanted to read more. He wanted to be productive in his work. At one point, he was deciding he wanted to go back to school, so maybe he could get a promotion in his job. Like, he had set these goals, and I remember sitting with this client, struggling with him, right, to overflow. Whenever he would get stuck, he would abandon his goal, and he would just move on to the next one. So the problem wasn't his goals. The problem was he wasn't connecting it to something deeper, something more meaningful in his life. Right? He was really unable to respond to the why question. It's not just what am I doing, but I mentioned earlier the why am I doing it. So the follow-through became challenging for him. So I remember we did some mindset shifting. And I think for him, we shifted his mindset to something like, I'm someone who follows through because I value growth. Okay, I'm someone who follows through because I value growth. Once he was able to make that mindset shift, like, he saw incredible changes in his life. So when he was able to set a goal, he was able to ask those questions. What do I want to set? That's the clarity part. He was able to put a plan together. That's an important piece of this process. But he was able to hold on to this growth mindset. I'm a person who follows through because I value growth. Okay, so this simple transformation changed everything for him. I talked about just a second ago the idea of like action plan. So let's just, as we wrap up, let's talk about this. The mindset action plan. I want you to think about these 3 steps. The first one is clarify your why. Okay, so the things I've already mentioned here. So not just what you want, but why you want it. Not just the example of not just I want to get fit, but I want to be an active and a strong person for my family. That was my story, right? I don't just want to be fit. I want to be an active and a strong person for my family. So then the next is commit to daily action. Like, make it, when I talked about this idea of like small steps every day. What's the healthy next choice? Okay, so what's one small, consistent action that aligns with your goal? So maybe that is, you want to get in shape. So you find or you create some kind of regimen, some kind of routine. I'm going to go for a walk every morning, or I'm going to do push-ups or sit-ups, or I'm going to get a gym membership and go X number of days per week, or whatever it might be. Or maybe it's a hobby, like I want to become a better golfer, so I'm going to get to the range certain times during the week, and or I'm going to take lessons, or maybe you want to learn how to play an instrument. I'm going to commit to sit with my instrument 30 minutes every day, and little by little by little, we see the progress happen. Okay, and then the third mindset action plan would be this: cultivate courage to keep going. Courage doesn't happen all by itself. It's cultivated, it's developed. So when you feel resistance or when you feel discomfort, ask yourself, like the question you would ask about, like, what would the future me do? The future me is going to be able to say, hey, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Let's push through this. Let's do this. Okay, so clarify the win, commit to daily action, and cultivate courage to keep going. Okay, so I have a challenge for you, which is I would love for you today to identify a goal. Maybe it's a goal that you already have. Maybe it's one that you're already in the midst of, one that you're working on. Maybe it's a goal that you recently set, but maybe you are struggling to stay in it, or you've already abandoned it. Or maybe there's a new goal that maybe you just need a little bit of prompting and a little bit of courage to be able to set today. Okay, so I want you to identify what is that goal. And then I want you to, from the conversation we had today, I want you to be able to connect that to not just what is the goal, but what's the why behind that goal. Can you do that? Today you're going to say, well, hey, why does that thing matter, right? That growth in that area of my life, connected to something with purpose and meaning or calling in your life. Then I want you to make it practical. I want you to be able to make it actionable every day. Commit to. And if I think it's helpful, I find this helpful for myself. Like, write it down. If you need to write it down every day, you need to keep track of it. Maybe you need to put a calendar together, or maybe you have a paper calendar, maybe you have a digital calendar, a prompt, a reminder. Consider it this way. There's actually what we call pre-decision. Pre-decision is as I've decided in advance. This would be a great thing to actually do on Monday. So here we are on a Monday. I'm pre-deciding for the week ahead. I've already decided I'm going to exercise on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Or I've pre-decided that I'm going to meal prep for the rest of the week, and here's what it's going to look like. Right? We're going to put it into action. And then the last part of this is I want you to create some kind of mantra or some kind of message to yourself. Something about being brave, courageous, having perseverance, endurance, something that connects with you. So when things do get hard, when there is discomfort, when you need the courage to keep going, you've got something to come back to. All right. Would love to have you leave us a message. If you want to let us know what it is that you're going to commit to today, what the goal is you're working on, we'd love to hear from you. As always, remember on Wednesday, Dr. Mike's with us for Wellness Wednesday. I'm back again on Friday for Faithful Friday. Check out all